What is going on, everybody? And welcome to ATL or Talking ATL Hawks. I believe this is episode 45.
Yes,
45, baby.
45 of the Talking ATL Hawks podcast. You got your usual crew, myself, Andrew, John, and we are back with another episode. We are getting closer and closer and closer to the official return of Atlanta Hawks basketball.
About
Now,
half a month away from preseason.
I know. Recently we haven't had too much to talk about, but this time, actually, just here recently, not too long ago, we got some breaking news that we're going to get into, kind of
about
discuss
an
our
hour
thoughts.
ago. About
Yeah,
an hour ago, yeah.
very, very recently, some fresh news off the brink. So we'll get into that in a little bit, our thoughts and our concerns even behind it. And then the EuroLeague just officially came to an end. They had their semifinals and championship. So we'll kind of recap that, just kind of update you on how the players performed in the semifinals and championship matchups, who won and what that looks like for those players heading into the NBA season. And then, of course, we got a Start Pitch Cup. But before we begin, I almost said ladies and gents. Gents, how are we doing?
Doing great, good weekend, our school, University of West Georgia, won in a phenomenal
Yes, sir.
game-winning touchdown. The interesting thing, like me and my friend almost like left the stadium like halfway through the fourth because we thought it was over after Davin Winder's like third interception or second interception. We thought it was over, but Kate McNamara is just bad at football.
For those who don't know what he's talking about, but before you get into it, Andrew, for those who don't know what he's talking about the University of West Georgia's college football team. We're in our second year of Division I, and last week we just had an incredible come from behind win, which I believe the updated rankings have us now number 22 in the FCS poll. So that's huge.
I'm feeling 22. Sorry,
so that's huge for the University of West Georgia and their football program. But Andrew, you go ahead.
I was going to say, Chase and I were actually going to make an effort to show up to that game, but the only reason we didn't is because we had some long-distance old friends of ours come down and stay with us Saturday night, so we wanted to stay back and see them because we haven't seen them in years, and she just recently had a baby, so we wanted to see the newborn baby as well. But while we were at home, we pulled up the end of the game on our TV, and we were able to catch the final 5 minutes of that game, and it was incredible. I was
electric. The atmosphere was rocking. I've never seen the stadium like that, like rocking. But shout out to number 20 on ETSU for giving us those three back pass interference calls.
And I was going to say, I was going to point that out, Joyner. I'm really impressed, and I want to give a big shout out before we get into the episode to the University of West Georgia for all of the upgrades that they made during the stadium throughout the offseason. The digital video board that actually works looks really incredible.
It works, but it didn't show like any like replays. It just showed the Wolf logo. It didn't really like show any it showed the scoreboard and all that, but it didn't really show any replays.
I mean, that's a little disappointing, but I mean, we got to take baby steps first. I'm just glad that we actually have a functioning video board for once. And the sound system, I heard, was much improved. All of the brick that was behind the left end zone that was rotting and decaying finally got refurnished, and it looks so much better. And I absolutely love the fact that we finally got fireworks.
Yes, I was about to tell you, we got fireworks at the stadium. After every touchdown, the fireworks go off above the
press box.
All the videos that I saw on social media with the fireworks going off and the jam-packed stadium going crazy, it finally felt like an official Division I atmosphere. And that's something that we definitely lacked last season. So I really want to pay my due diligence to the University of West Georgia for spending some money on this to upgrade the stadium a little bit and make it feel a little more Division I, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, before we get we love showing some love to our alma mater and Joyner's future alma mater, West University of West
One
Georgia.
more year
But
after this year.
one more year and he's there, ladies and gentlemen. But everybody, you know what else is on the rise? Atlanta Hawks basketball. We couldn't talk enough about how huge of an offseason the Atlanta Hawks had to rebuild or to revamp that lineup, to add some more depth in terms of the big man position, to add some more depth, period. And if you ask me, I think we have a top bench, if not the top bench, and at least the Eastern Conference. But that leads me all into my start bench cut. There's a lot to be excited about for this Atlanta Hawks season. Hawks fans are excited. The players are excited. Trae Young, he's been talking in these podcasts, and he really does feel like that this is the year the Atlanta Hawks can truly come out here and compete, and not only in the Eastern Conference, not only to make the playoffs, but a legitimate championship roster. Well, that being said, we had the Atlanta Hawks 2025-26 schedule release come out a couple weeks ago. We talked about that on a previous episode, kind of broke down the schedule, kind of looked at
Probably
the
a month ago,
teams.
actually. I think it was a month ago.
Yeah, it's about a month now. So I'm going to ask y'all, and there's no specific list that I'm going to provide for the start bench cut. I'm just going to. I guess it's not really a start bench cut. This is more of like a tier rating. I
Okay.
want to add. I just want y'all personally, in y'all's opinion, with y'all's judgment, I want y'all to name me the three teams y'all are most excited to see the Atlanta Hawks face this year,
Okay.
and kind of your reasons behind it. And
I pulled
I,
up the.
I already have my list. You don't have to give like the specific date and that kind of stuff. Just kind of like the team. Like which team are you excited to see the Atlanta Hawks match up with this year? I already have kind of my list, but I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all go first before I provide mine.
Okay. Joyner, do you have yours?
I do, but why don't you go first? Why don't you go first? Because
Okay.
I'm want to like I have like a few teams in mind, but I want to kind of see what you go with first and see if I want to change some things up.
Okay, so I'm going to take, because you said this is a tier ranking, I'm going to take this into the approach of the top 3 games that I am most excited to see, and that kind of correlates to your start bench cut. The 3 teams that I'm most excited to see us play. Now, if I spent about 30 minutes figuring this out before the podcast started, I probably have a more accurate list. But having the schedule pulled up in front of me and just off the top of my head response, this is the best that I could come up with. But I think it's pretty reasonable. Number 1 might be a surprise, but I have a pretty important reason as to why, is the Toronto Raptors. Specifically on Wednesday, October 22nd, the opening night game against the Toronto Raptors.
Oh, we're going to try and go to, yeah.
It's not really because of the Toronto Raptors itself. It's mainly because this is our chance to get a first visual look at the regenerated Atlanta Hawks. Because obviously, we've mentioned it pretty much every episode up to this point. We have undergone a major shift in terms of our offensive off-season strategy because our focus was solely adding that veteran leadership and players who fit a more specific system under Coach Quinn Snyder. And look, Kristaps Porzingis, easily the most anticipated new look Atlanta Hawk player. And the game is going to be the first public showcase of the new core led by Trae Young and Kristaps Porzingis, and see how it all works together, because all eyes are going to be on their on-court chemistry, especially on how the Hawks offense utilizes Porzingis, his unique skill stretch that he's elevated a lot throughout his previous years in Boston. And honestly, I'm a little surprised that this isn't a nationally televised game because of how anticipated this new look Atlanta Hawks are. And to give credit to the Toronto Raptors, they too worked on a lot of moving pieces that really started in the middle of last season before the trade deadline, but even more so in the offseason. And I would not be surprised if the Toronto Raptors make an make the play-in tournament appearance, because I really do like that Toronto Raptors starting five. It's a very sneaky lineup that I think is going to shake up the Eastern Conference a little bit. Now, moving to number 2. The Saturday, November 8th game against the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, mainly it's because just how can you not love a star-studded matchup? It's a clash of titans. You've got Trae Young facing off against the Los Angeles Lakers in what many people say is going to be LeBron James' last season in the NBA. So it's going to be his last time playing in State Farm Arena. And of course, he's going to be paired with Luka Doncic. And we all know Trae Young and Luka has had a historic rivalry between each other that dates back to the 2018 draft. And it's going to attract a lot of national attention. It's going to put Trae Young in a big spotlight. And it's Trae Young's main opportunity to really undermine all the vocal things that's been said about him in terms of him being overlooked by the media. And it's just going to be a high-stake game with a lot of all-stars playing on the same court. How can you not love it? Now, my third one is the Monday, January 19th game, the MLK Day game against the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, it's the main reason, and I mean, this might sound a little ridiculous, but it's not ridiculous. It's really cool. The main reason why I'm excited about it is there's a lot of positive rumors saying that the Hawks are going to bring back the MLK design court for this game. And it's a nationally televised game, and I'm just excited to see that court make a return. And the fact that the Bucks and the Hawks have really formulated a stretched-out rivalry since the 2021 Eastern Conference Final matchup between the two, where Trae Young went down in Game 3 when he hurt his ankle, and that kind of derailed the Hawks' chances of making the NBA Finals. That's kind of been lingering around his head. And the fact that this is a very important year for the Milwaukee Bucks in turn of Giannis's future with him, because the Bucks took a massive hit with losing Damian Lillard for the majority of the season. And if you take a look at that starting lineup for face value, it is not that great of a lineup. So this is really going to show how Giannis is really going to elevate himself as a standardized MVP play, because many people believe he's kind of lost the MVP caliber. So because the roster took a big hit, it's really going to have to be leaning on Giannis' shoulders. And this is his chance to quiet the media's noise about him saying he's kind of lost his MVP touch a little bit. And if the Milwaukee Bucks completely flop this year, many believe that it's going to entice Giannis to get that trade request and not fully flesh out his extended contract. So, very important game for both Trae Young and Giannis.
You already know how I feel about the Milwaukee Bucks roster. We kind of already got in our debate about that a couple episodes ago. But don't forget about Miles Turner. You think that Milwaukee Bucks roster is completely weak, but Giannis and Miles Turner is going to be a nastier deal than people give him credit for, especially the season that Miles Turner was just coming off of and the Pacers' final run just a season ago. So don't let that slip over anybody's heads.
All right, Joyner, what you got?
Okay, well, Andrew, I'm kind of upset that you didn't mention a team that I didn't want to mention, but I guess, I guess I don't have to mention them. But so I'm gonna go. So I think the first matchup I'm excited for is it's not the opening game. It's not the opening game. It's actually our second home game against the Oklahoma City Thunder, the defending champions. Of the defending champions, and I just think that that's a good matchup to see, just to see like how we're gonna fare like in the league. Because you're facing off the I guess the defending champions. Yep. They did beat us by a lot multiple times last season. Wasn't fun playing them last season, but we did get better. We got Porzingis, we got Naw, we got Luke Kennard. We got some good rookies. I might think that this should be a fun match, just to test and see how good this Hawks team can play when we're fully healthy.
For sure.
Now the second game I want to talk about is our first NBA Cup group play game against the Raptors at home. Again, this is against the Raptors that we went to at the Hawks Raptors game last year when Johnson got hurt. So this should be
Yep,
a good revenge game. Even
absolutely.
even though this is going to be I believe our second time playing them at home, because we kick off the season against them at home. Uh, this is for a group play. So I'm really hoping that we win this game, and that we can get revenge for Jalen Johnson getting hurt against the
Yep.
Raptors last season. Um, now the final game I'm gonna be looking forward to is um, I don't really have a specific date, but we have a 7'3" guy on our team now. I want to see him how plays against Wemby. I want to see how he plays against Wemby.
For sure.
Stephon Castle, Stephon Castle, who I don't want to say stole Rookie of the Year from Ricochet, but Ricochet did finish second in Rookie of the Year voting. So it'll be those two year two guys
Yep.
against each other, and then there's gonna be the two Titans and Kristaps Porzingis and Victor Wembanyama. So I want to see how those two fare off against each other. So that's my list. I didn't want to mention the Knicks because because like that should be like ECW anyway. We're not ECW, but like yeah. So that's my list.
Every time the Hawks and the Knicks play, you just know Trae Young's going to find new way to aura farm because he does it every single time we play the Knicks. There is another team or another game that I should have mentioned because it's pretty obvious.
Don't mention it just in case it could be potentially on my list.
That's what I was saying. I'm not going to mention it, but now thinking back on it, there's a very obvious matchup that I should have included in my list. But Chase, you might steal it here. So.
Well, number one on my list is going to be an opponent we're going to face several times because it is a division rival. But we face them first right after our season opener. It's our first road game, and we travel to Orlando to face the Orlando Magic. And the reason I have them at the top of my list is all because of the game we had previously in Orlando and the NBA play-in, the first game that we lost.
Let's not talk about that.
Horribly. A horrible performance by the Atlanta Hawks. But there's a couple of reasons why this year specifically I cannot wait to see the Hawks face the Magic. And last year, with the Magic prevailing over the Atlanta Hawks in the playing game, something I kind of noticed was there was a kind of like a rebranded or like a reheated rivalry between Trae Young and the Magic, especially Trae Young and Magic fans. After Trae Young himself had a really bad performance against the Magic that night, and the fans just really seemed to show a new type of passionate hatred or dislike towards Trae Young. I think that kind of sparks a different flame to this Hawks and Magic rivalry that we haven't really seen since the Hawks got Trae Young.
A little bit like the Knicks, almost.
Almost like the Knicks. It's kind of like Trae Young's response to the fans, talking so much hate and dislike towards him. I think it really does resemble kind of his relation to the Knicks. Obviously not on that same level, but I mean, with the Hawks and Magic division rivalry, it kind of elevates it to that level just a little bit. But another big reason I want to focus on was, if you remember this offseason, the kind of the moves the Magic made, there is a very controversial move that I've seen and heard both sides of the argument on. I'm on the argument that this trade made no sense. Now, I'm talking about the one where they received Desmond Bane from the Orlando Magic.
Good trade.
Now,
Good trade.
I love Desmond Bane as a player, especially how he is defensively. And if there's anything the Magic lacked last year was a lot of defensive presence. I know they have Jonathan Isaac, who's been an elevated defender since he's been in the league when he's healthy. But other than that, their defense is very lackluster and ultimately very weak. Now, Desmond Bane definitely strengthens that part of their game because he's been one of the best defenders, one of the best defending shooting guards in the league since he's been in the league, especially his last 2 or 3 years in Memphis. So I understand that part of the trade. What I didn't like was how much they gave up, especially in terms of their bench. Because now when you look at the starting five, and it's going to be fine with the pairing of Desmond Bane, Pablo Pincheiro, and such. But now their bench just gets, other than Anthony Black, and however they want to use Jonathan Isaac, if he's going to be more included in the starting lineup or not. Other than that, their bench is ultimately very weak. And I think Magic fans are kind of like overlooking that part. And it kind of puts them in par with like the direction the Phoenix Suns have been going. Or what's another good? The Milwaukee Bucks have been, the 76ers have been going. Good, really good starting lineup, but no bench. And history shows that never elevates well when you're trying to get to a deep playoff run. So what I'm looking for when the Hawks face the Magic is for Trae Young to get his revenge and to quiet the noise of the Magic fans have been shouting at him. And I'm hoping the Hawks will go out there and just dismantle this Magic team, expose their weaknesses, so I can come back on this podcast and not to y'all, but to all who listen and say, "Ha ha, I told you so."
Which is pretty
And
ironic because of all the whispers between how if Trae Young leaves the Hawks, his next destination might be Orlando. So it's a little ironic.
Exactly. So I'm hoping that we can quiet those what's the word for it? Sacrilegious trade talks. But number two on my list.
Trade talks.
Yeah, I see what you're going there for, but I'm not going to applaud you for that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Good try, though. Good try. Number two on my list isn't until March 10th, which would be the first time the Hawks and the Mavericks face when Dallas comes to Atlanta. And, of course,
I almost mentioned Dallas. I'm not going to lie. I almost said Dallas.
And the reason I'm saying this, it's going to be the first time the Hawks will be facing the Magic without Luka Doncic, but with the addition of Cooper Flag. And you mentioned yet you can't wait to see how Zachary Ricochet matches up against Victor Wembanyama. And, of course, me too. I'd love to see that.
I said Stephon Castle. not.
Yeah. You said Kristaps with Victor Wembanyama. Yeah. But same thing here. Like with the Hawks' new tall lineup, how are they going to counter Cooper Flag, who only played 2 summer league games, A, to keep him from injury, but B, because that second performance is all the Dallas organization need to see from him to know he's already going to be a solidified superstar right out the gate. So I'm excited to see how the Hawks are going to counter that superstar tandem of Kyrie Irving and Cooper Flag. And also with D'Angelo Russell being added to the Mavericks lineup, that's going to be a really new and fun addition. I know we haven't seen really a vintage version of D'Lo since his time in Brooklyn, but he wasn't bad in LA. I know he went back to Brooklyn for a little bit. He hardly played, but I think now with like kind of like a new atmosphere, new scenery, this might be the right place for D'Angelo Russell to kind of get back into his vintage self. And I'm really high on the Mavericks this year. I know they lost a lot with the Luka, AD's hardly healthy, but I know Stephen A kind of put it. Kyrie Irving, he's hardly healthy too. But Stephen A kind of put in perspective. I know I mentioned this on the episode before when Stephen A kind of talked about that Mavericks trading Luka is kind of them putting all their chips on the table, that if they don't win the championship this year, they kind of just lost everything and they're going to go through another rebuild with Cooper Flag. This is all their tips on the table season. If the Mavericks do not win the championship this year, they are going through another rebuild. I think they know that. I think Nico especially knows that, and the pressure's on his shoulders especially. So I'm really high on the Mavericks to really push for a championship this year, and I'm excited to see how the Hawks are going to counter that and shut that down.
It's also the fact that by the time it rolls into March, Cooper Flag is going to have all this tweets figured out. It's not like we're going to be playing the early blossom version of Cooper Flag. This is going to be a nearly flourished version of Cooper Flag. So that's going to make him even more of a threat.
And number 3, this is kind of like really for one reason and one reason only, but it's looking for, this is a November game, November 18th, when the Pistons come to town. And the last time the Hawks played the Pistons, it was one of the clutchest game-winning shots I've ever seen Trae Young hit his career. But what I'm most excited to see, I'm sure you are following me here, is the continued rivalry and heated debate between Trae Young and Malik Beasley. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, Jordan knows. Wait, I just realized.
Yeah.
Malik Beasley, he's not going to play, is he?
Is he?
Remember, Malik Beasley's suspended, isn't he? Am I wrong?
But not for that long.
No, I think I think he is. Hang on.
Well, I'm going to go grab my charger while you look this up.
Yeah, Malik Beasley is suspended for gambling. I don't think he's going to play that game. Now I just thought about it. Am I wrong?
Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Apparently, like it's still being like investigated.
So yeah, so the NBA is opening their own investigation of the matter. So
I
yeah,
guess
right now he's not being charged with anything. But
I guess I will say while you look that up is the so none of y'all said the team that was
oh, never mind. It doesn't even matter. Malik Beasley's a free agent too. No team signed him yet.
man,
Okay. Well,
which is a big blow for the Pistons because I think he was really grasping that turning point of breaching into the best version of himself after what he did last season. But none of y'all said the
Well,
team.
hang on. I'm going to change my answer now. I'm going to change my number 3 because my whole reason behind the Hawks and Pistons matchup was just to see the continued rivalry between Trae Young and Malik Beasley. But now that Malik Beasley's a free agent and no team's even touched him yet, that kind of alters my answer. So I'm going to shift gears. I'm going to go still to a November game, November 10th, when the Hawks go on their out west road trip early in the season. Well, then we make a trip to the newly refurnished Clipper Stadium, and we're going to face fellow friend John Collins. And I know we faced John Collins in the past in Utah.
and Bogey.
Bogdanovich too.
And Bogdanovich, yeah.
Exactly. And Zubac and all that. Now I know there's this whole, massive thing going on with the NBA and Kawhi Leonard, and it's not looking good for Kawhi Leonard playing next year. But you're still going to have James Harden, and this is a scenery for John Collins. This is a beautiful place for John Collins to be. I'm excited to watch John Collins this year. I'm especially high on him. He's going to have more control here than he ever did in Utah. He has a good team around him that likes to move the ball around and kind of caters to his style of play, where he's able to actually dominate in the paint with some actual legitimate help and kind of get back to that form of John Collins we haven't seen since his time in Atlanta. And I always love to see Trae Young and John Collins rekindle that friendship, but on different teams now. And I think the Clippers are going to be a very, very interesting team to watch. Still a really good roster, even if Kawhi Leonard doesn't get to play, which it looks like he's not going to. So I think it's going to be a very high anticipated star-studded matchup, considering all people stay healthy. And like Jordan said, too, we'll revisit old friend Bogey Bogdanovich, who we got massive picks from, who we decided to trade away instantly, or the picks instantly. We're not going to get into that, though. So that's my top 3 right there. But, Angie, you said we didn't name your team, right?
Nobody named the team that I think was probably blatantly obvious, and that's the January 17th matchup. And when the Celtics come to Atlanta and Kristaps Porzingis officially plays his former Celtic team, which he won an NBA championship on. And
I was gonna say either that or like the April, I think it's April 6th as the last game of the season. We play Boston.
Play Boston too.
And the fact that Marcus or Jaylen Brown has shown mutual interest in eventually playing for the Atlanta
Hawks. I was going to get into that later on in the podcast. I was going to get into that.
And rekindle his flame with Kristaps Porzingis eventually down the road. So I think that game has a lot of interesting storylines that I probably would have put on my list if I gave it a little bit more thought. But
if this season goes as all Hawks fans are planning and the Hawks are showcasing themselves as actual legitimate title contenders by the trade deadline, then Jaylen Brown is a guy we could seriously target in terms of trades.
Did somebody say trade deadline?
I'm not gonna lie. The only reason why I didn't mention Boston is because Jason Tatum's not gonna play.
Me too. I had the same reason. reason.
I mean, Jason Tatum's not going to play. We fleeced Kristaps from him.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, they also traded Drew Holiday. So what's
the Celtics?
What's the line going to be this year? I don't That's going to be interesting to figure out.
Celtics had one of the worst off seasons I've ever seen an NBA team have, and the front office's response to Tatum's injury was one of the most sideways, backwards response a team could have had. They saw Tatum get injured out for the year, and they just pushed his franchise backwards. And honestly, because it's the Boston Celtics, I find it hilarious.
I just had a feeling that because it's against the Boston Celtics, we have the potential to see like a Kristaps Porzingis 50 piece. You know what I mean? Because a lot of teams, even though Kristaps Porzingis won a championship there, a lot of teams still kind of have bittersweet taste in their mouth every time they play a former team of theirs, especially when they leave on not the best terms. Because Kristaps didn't leave the Celtics on the best terms per se, but yeah, I had the feeling that the Celtics GM handled the Jason Tatum injury kind of the same way Jerry Jones probably would if he was in control of the Boston Celtics. There's a very Jerry Jones-like mindset in that Celtics front office there, because I don't know what kind of direction they plan on going with all those trades. There's no new flame being lit in Boston. As a matter of fact, you threw a whole gallon of water on the only flame you had left. And now the only thing the Celtics can hope for is when Tatum returns next season, that they can maybe grab their hands on a couple of free agents to throw around Tatum because he'll be back. But I mean, it's almost like they just threw this year in purgatory and was like, yeah, we're just going to say F it this season. We're going to wait for Tatum to get back and better.
Whoa. This is a children's podcast. Watch your language.
That's why I said F it. That's why I said F it.
Yeah,
but yeah, it just kind of seems like the Celtics gave up on the season before it even started. That's the kind of vibe I got from it.
No, you're right. It's simple. The front office saw Tatum go down and they hit the panic button. That's what these trades almost seem like they were made in panic.
Yeah. Not a high likely mind to have in control of that situation.
Moving on, because we have some other things to talk about. Before we get into the breaking news, not going to talk about that quite yet. Before we do that, like I mentioned at the start of the episode, we had the conclusion of the EuroLeague tourney. We had the semifinals and the championship game take place. Now, I wasn't able to find anything on it. Angie, I know you found some good stuff on the last episode. If you don't mind pulling it up, I tried to look it up, and for some reason I couldn't get anything to pull up. So we'll kind of pull those up, kind of see how the semifinals and the championship played out and some of the top performers in those games and kind of what it means for those players heading towards the NBA season. Because like Andrew said, we're practically a month away from the Hawks' first preseason matchup. And I know the Knicks and the Celtics, the very first preseason matchup is right around the corner as well. I meant Knicks and Sixers. So, this is exciting times. College football and the NFL are now in full effect. And now we have the NBA season right around the corner, and MLB postseason is coming right around the corner, even though the Braves aren't going to be in it. It's definitely going to be an exciting postseason regardless. So it's a great time to be a sports fan. If you're not a sports fan, I recommend getting into it.
Okay. I think I got it pulled up. Let me just
But Jordan, I know you mentioned at the start of the episode that you have a potential idea of who's going to fill that last roster spot. I'm going to let you, after we talk about some other things, I'm going to let you get into that. But I also have an idea of who I think the Hawks are going to fill that roster spot with.
Is he a point guard?
He is a point guard.
Dude, if me and you were thinking the same guy, that's going to be cool.
It might be. I'm going to let you say it first, though. But there is a chance we might be thinking of the same guy. Which would be.
I think I got it here, guys. I just got to go to games. Oh, I had bracket right there. There's a bracket. Okay, so yeah, we left it off and going through the round of 16 and quarterfinal games. So we officially reached the semifinal and the final throughout the last week, and now we're going to get into it. So for those who don't remember the semifinal matchups, they included Germany versus Turkey, and I'm sorry, not Germany. That was Greenland. Greece versus Turkey, and then Germany versus Finland on the other side. So starting off with Greece versus Turkey, it was an absolute domination all the way through. Turkey dominating Greece by a score of 94-68. Ooh. And if we take a look at the Greece side, I mean, there's not really a lot of – the only notable name that we have on the Greece side is Giannis Antetokounmpo and his two brothers. But Giannis really struggled in this big semifinal game. He played about a total of 30 minutes, only scored 12 points on 6 of 13 shooting. So about 50% from the field. He had 12 rebounds, 5 assists, but the biggest surprise to me is he had 5 turnovers. And that, in my eyes,
as a power forward, that's insane.
That's really, yeah.
Probably led to a lot of turnover, fast break points for Turkey. And if we're looking at Turkey's side, I mean, they have C.D. Osman. That's one of the bigger NBA names on that lineup. He had a pretty nice night.
I don't think he's even I don't think he's even in the league anymore.
I don't think so either. I think he's just an overseas type player now.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Because I don't remember. I for at least the past 2 seasons, I don't remember him being in the league.
Yeah, he left.
He actually. Funny enough, he actually plays for a club in Greece.
Yeah, he let.
Oh wow.
Sorry,
I said, "Oh wow."
Oh well, sorry. It's just I thought you were going to say something, so I was giving that moment for you to say something. Yeah, he left the NBA in 2024 to sign with Panathinaikos. I don't really know how to say that team name, but according to Jordan, that team is in Greece. So
yeah, it's in the Greek basketball league in the Euro League.
Yeah, that's kind of ironic there. And Euro League is already in full effect, so he was playing both in the
Not yet. The Euro League starts in 14 days.
Okay. Anyways, so C.D. Osman had a very nice performance. He scored 17 points on about 34 minutes worth of play, but shot 58% from the field. He was pretty effective elsewhere. He had 2 steals, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. But there's really no other big NBA names. There's actually no other former NBA names anyways on that team. So Turkey advanced to the championship game where they played the winner of Germany and Finland. And here we got a much closer matchup, but still not really that close, as Germany went up big at halftime, and then Finland made a little bit of a third quarter comeback, and then Germany took back full control in the fourth quarter, winning by a score of 98-86. Now, of course, Germany is home to Dennis Schroeder, and man, did Dennis Schroeder have an amazing game, scoring 26 points on 31 minutes, and he shot 40% from the field, and he shot 44% from the three-point line, which is a lot better than what he did in the quarterfinal game. And he shot 10 for 10 from the free throw line. So he went to the line a lot, drew a lot of fouls, which is something that Dennis Schroeder does really well when he's driving inside the paint. And not only was he scoring points, he was finding open teammates as he had 12 assists. And take a look at this. 5 rebounds, which is very impressive for a guy of Dennis Schroeder's size. And then, of course, Isaac Bonga, who is also in the NBA, scored 10 points on 30 minutes and shot 57% from the field. And if we take a look at Finland's side, not really the biggest name they have on that side is Lauri Markkanen. And Lauri Markkanen had a pretty okay game, I guess. He scored 16 points in 27 minutes, but shot 35% from the field. So pretty poor in that aspect. But he did have 8 rebounds and nothing really else to his name. So Germany and Turkey for the final, and then you had Greece and Finland for the third place game. So I guess I'll hop into the third place game first between Greece and Finland, which that game was an absolute nail biter. So funny enough, Greece won by a score of 92-89, but Greece was actually down by 11 going into the fourth quarter and made a fourth quarter surge to win the game 92-89. I'm sorry, and they weren't down by 11. I read that wrong. They were actually down by 5, but still had a big fourth quarter swing to seal that game for them. And if we take a look at the box score there, of course, Giannis Antetokounmpo had a much better game. This stat line from Giannis is absolutely insane. Giannis played 30 minutes, scored 30 points on 81% from the field and had 17 rebounds and 6 assists. So
That's more like Giannis.
he almost had a 30-point triple-double in the third-place game. I'm sure he was probably pissed off by his poor performance in the semifinal. And then over in Finland, again, not really any notable names other than Lauri Markkanen. He scored 19 points on 31 minutes, shot 37%, so struggled again from the field. He did have 10 rebounds to his name, so I guess that's a semi-quality double-double there. But shout out to Giannis in Greece for solidifying the third place in the Euro basket tournament. And then in the final, the game between Germany and Turkey, a.k.a. the game between Dennis Schroeder and Sidi Osman. Your Eurobasket FIBA tournament champion was Dennis Schroeder and Germany. They took down
Represent, baby.
in a very close game, 88-83. That was capitalized by an 8-point Germany win in the fourth quarter. Now, starting with Sidi Osman's stat line. Sidi Osman played a pretty good game. He had 23 points on 40 minutes, almost played the entire game, shot 58% from the field, and had 5 rebounds. So not a terrible performance, but nothing to write home about. And now Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder, not as good as a game as he did.
Hold on 1 second. We're saying so. Turkey has another like a notable NBA player. Alfred Sengun.
Let's see.
Sengun plays for Turkey.
Oh, he does. Oh, he does. Okay, I'm sorry.
Sengun and Adembona for the Sixers.
Yeah, Adembona. I see him now. Because I don't know how I missed Sengun in the semifinal game. I apologize, but I'm glad you said that, Joyner. Because now looking at the box score, Sengun had a really big game for Turkey. He scored 28 points in 30 minutes on 50% shooting. And he didn't really do anything. I mean, he had 3 blocks. So he was a very big defensive presence from inside the paint, evidently. But going to Germany, so thank you for that, Joyner. I'm glad you said that. Yeah. But going back to Germany, Dennis Schroeder, not as good as a game as he had in the semifinal matchup, but he did do pretty good. 16 points on 34 minutes and on 45% from the field, and he had 12 assists. So that's back-to-back 12 assist games from Dennis Schroeder. The only downside, along with the 12 assists, is he had a really bad assist to turnover ratio, as he still had 6 turnovers in that game. But Franz Wagner had a very nice night as well. 18 points on 19 minutes. He shot 53% from the field as well, and he had 8 rebounds to his name. But the leading scorer for Team Germany was actually Isaac Bonga, who scored 20 points on 24 minutes, and he shot 72% from the field along with 5 rebounds. So a very balanced night from Germany's big 3 gives them the trophy in the FIBA Eurobasket tournament. What's y'all's guys' thoughts on those performances?
I'm glad that we had a former Atlanta Hawk in the EuroLeague, Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think we were all probably mutually pulling. Well, obviously, we were all pulling for Zachary Richese, but because he got eliminated in the round of 16, I think we were all mutually pulling for Dennis Schroeder. Because, look, Dennis Schroeder might be look at that, Chase bringing back the Dennis Schroeder vintage jersey there. Look, to many NBA fans, for those who only keep their eyes on the NBA, Dennis Schroeder might be nothing more than a solid bench 6 man for your basketball team. But little do y'all know that overseas, including the FIBA World Cup, Dennis Schroeder is a force to be reckoned with, and he is one of the best basketball products to come out of Germany. Obviously, the best being Dirk Nowitzki, but don't let that overshadow what Dennis Schroeder does overseas. Because because inside the NBA, of course, he was the Hawks' starting point guard for a couple years, and he had some very big performances when he had the starting point guard position at the helm. But he's been a multi-year, very reliable 6 man for many NBA teams, including the Toronto Raptors, the Oklahoma City Thunder when he was paired with Chris Paul for a little while, Brooklyn Nets, and a lot of Golden State Warriors for a short period
The
of time,
Lakers.
and the Lakers.
Because
But
not to mention, remember the Lakers felt like he was profitable enough to offer him a 4-year, $90 million contract, and that's when Dennis Schroeder unfortunately made a bad business decision, declined the offer, and ended up going to
the Celtics.
the Celtics, getting paid $10 million. So he lost $80 million. But that's besides the point. Dennis Schroeder. Especially with his time in Atlanta where he played his best basketball. He was in that awkward phase when we lost Jeff Teague, and then we had Dwight Howard and Tim Hardaway Jr., that kind of awkward phase. But he was the workhorse of that Atlanta Hawks era, and he brought the Hawks to the playoffs twice. We were in the playoffs twice with Dennis Schroeder, and yeah, it was ultimately a fun player to watch, and he was a really good pace controller. He helped the Hawks work quick pace. We were an up tempo team, that was still under Mike Budenholzer as well. And yeah, it was definitely a time in Atlanta that wasn't the most memorable, but Dennis Schroeder definitely was.
But don't forget, in the FIBA World Cup, not this past one that was held in Paris, but the one prior to that one where Team USA had a very poor performance, Germany went on to win that FIBA World Cup, and Dennis Schroeder was named the FIBA World Cup MVP. So he is a very, very good overseas player. So
yeah,
love that for Dennis Schroeder. I'm sure he had a thrill playing for the FIBA Eurobasket tournament.
But moving on, because we have we're kind of reaching towards the end of the episode. There is one main thing we have to talk about, and that was the breaking news that came out about an hour and a half ago, considering the involving the Atlanta Hawks and the Brooklyn Nets. So Kobe Buffkin has been traded to the Brooklyn Nets for cash considerations. That's something that Shams just released, like I said, about an hour and a half ago. Joyner let us know in the group chat. And
completely took me out of left field.
Yeah,
no Hawks fan saw this coming, and it's something you had to consider for two reasons. So Kobe Buffkin, he only played 27 games with the Atlanta Hawks, mainly because of his injury that kept him out for a majority of the season. Also, when he was healthy, especially his rookie season, obviously most of his time was spent in the G League. But what he showcased his second season, especially the latter half of his second season in the league, was the best version of Kobe Buffkin we ever seen. We saw him come off the bench behind Trae Young and put up a solid 10, 11 points sometimes. We had his game in Brooklyn. Matt Mander saw in person his best game in Brooklyn, where I believe we saw him drop 23. I think it was 25 points because and that was behind Trae Young, because Trae Young started that game too. And Trae Young – no,
Trent didn't play in that game. DeJounte Murray got the start, and he
you're right.
DeJounte Murray.
You're right. No, Kobe started that game. DeJounte played shooting guard, and Kobe Buffkin got the start. You're right, and dropped 25 points. But most notably was this past summer league that gave me the most confidence about Kobe Buffkin, because we've seen him come off this season-ending injury and dominate in the summer league, including a 29-point performance he had in that game against the Miami Heat, where he dropped 17 points in that fourth quarter where the Hawks came back and beat the Miami Heat. So if you consider that, it makes you wonder why the Atlanta Hawks even made this trade. And looking at a report here, they're saying that this was mainly a salary dump move for the Atlanta Hawks, because Kobe Buffkin had a $4.5 million salary, and that got rid of the $4.5 million, which put the Hawks $7.7 million below the luxury tax line and $15.4 million below the first apron, where they were hard capped. And this trade creates a trade exception that they can use for next year. So that was kind of like the main reason behind it. It gave according to Shams, which was mentioned in his report about it, that it gave the Hawks some roster flexibility, because it opens up a roster space that the Atlanta Hawks can fill up now. And I know Joyner has an idea for who that could be, and I do too. But the Nets, so the Nets GM, Sean Marks, who has been a part of many rebuilds before, typically when he goes to rebuild, what he likes to do is he likes to look for players that are showing big strengths and potential, but NBA franchises are giving up on too quickly. So he looked at a guy like Kobe Buffkin, and he saw how Kobe Buffkin performed in this previous summer league, and he saw the Atlanta Hawks were willing to offer him for cash considerations. So he saw this as a player that shows lots of potential and a player that the Atlanta Hawks are giving up on too easily. So this is very typical for GM Sean Marks to do when he's rebuilding a team. And I know it's a small sample size, like we mentioned. He'll in his 3 years of NBA play, he's only played 27 games, but the sample size shows a lot. And especially with his time in the G League during his rookie year, he had strong performances then. So you can use that as an even bigger sample size. This could be a big hit or miss move for the Brooklyn Nets. But if you're a Nets fan, I'm telling you right now, lean more on the hit side. There's a lot to be excited about for Kobe Buffkin. He could add some serious guard depth to the Brooklyn Nets bench. Especially with the loss of Cam this past season to Denver. I know they're bringing Michael Porter Jr. in to have that forward position too. So now the Nets kind of have the ball rolling after years of a standstill. So I kind of want to ask y'all what y'all think about this. Y'all can kind of give y'all thoughts and opinions. Jordan, you can tell us about who you think the Atlanta Hawks will use this open roster flexibility now to fill in that final roster spot. I'll give my thoughts about it too. And this is kind of how we can end the episode.
Andrew, you want to go first?
Oh, I'll let you take the cake on this, Jordan.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said earlier, I didn't see this trade coming. I don't think any of us saw this trade coming. I was hoping that we would have Kobe to back up Trae Young.
Yep.
I mean, but also like we do have Nickeil Alexander-Walker. We do have Luke Kennard. We do have some other guys that could play point guard minutes. So I don't really think that Kobe would have gotten like that many minutes. Anyway, but
probably not.
But I mean, also like as far as I know, I think Brooklyn's like very like guard heavy as well. So like I don't see why we would trade him to Brooklyn because didn't Brooklyn take like 2 point guards in the draft?
They did. I think they have like 5 guards on their depth chart or 6
I
even.
know. And that's like what now? Now 6.
I think Kobe Buffkin makes 6 now. So now the Brooklyn kind of has a weird situation on their hands. I'm kind of interested to see. I would imagine Kobe Buffkin's probably going to the G League again, which I think is very unfair based on the talent he's been showcasing.
Yeah, I mean, but to be fair though, like he did ball out like in the summer league, and that's mainly like against like G League players for the most part. So assuming like he would do well in the G League, but like also he's an NBA backup caliber player.
Yeah,
so like he should be a main backup point guard for the Nets.
Yeah,
but I mean, I guess we'll see what they do with him when the season starts. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Like very weird that we trade him to Brooklyn, but I mean, oh well. Yeah, cash. We dumped his salary so we can sign a potential backup point guard that I'll get into later.
I do want to mention real quick before you get before just to add just something George stated. Also, another reason why he might be thrown to the G League is also because he hasn't played an actual NBA game in so long. Because very early in last year, he suffered that sad season-ending injury. So that could be a big concern for Brooklyn. So I would imagine that maybe their GM might sit him in the G League, let him play a couple weeks, see how he performs, and based on what he showcases, if whatever they decide to do with their other 5-point guards, then Kobe Buffkin might get a shot on the Brooklyn Nets roster, or they can ship him somewhere else. We'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, I kind of see it as, the fact that the Hawks traded a recent lottery pick for cash considerations, like during the offseason before the drafting started, I think that alone kind of suggests that Buffkin was never a significant part in the team's plans. Even as much as we enjoyed him for the first 2 seasons, though it was hampered with a lot of injuries, I think the fact that he just constantly struggled to find a consistent role on this team and just playing over only 27 games, which again isn't necessarily his fault because he was again hampered by a lot of injuries. But I think the trade just kind of indicates that the Hawks are really prioritizing other backcourt players like Keaton Wallace, for example, who really showcased a lot of upside last season. And the fact that we're not really willing to wait for Buffkin to develop, I think we know that he does have development status underway, just aside from all the injuries. The 27 games that he did play, including the Summer League this past summer, showed a lot of promise, but it shows a clear determination that the Hawks have players like Dyson Daniels, who has shown significant improvement, more so than Kobe Buffkin. And then, of course, the addition of Nickeil Alexander-Walker and the addition of Luke Kennard also caters to the point that we have plans aside from Kobe Buffkin. But I will say it does put a little bit more of an emphasis on the Hawks in terms of it's going to put a lot more pressure on the guards that remain in Atlanta, because with the departure of Kobe Buffkin, who does have a lot of high upside, the Hawks banking their current roster to perform at a high level is more highlighted than it was before. And it kind of gives a narrative that it continues to build on the narrative that this is a really crucial season for the team and the current role players that we have, like Trae Young and his future and his potential contract extension and all of that that's kind of been on the horizon for a long time. So I think all the move really shows is that the Hawks have a clear vision on who we want the foundation of our backcourt to be and who we want those players to be involved in terms of that vision. And Kobe Buffkin, mainly because of his injuries, just can't be a part of that.
And this is kind of like the second solidified rising point guard that the Atlanta Hawks have kind of missed out on. If you want to throw it back a couple of years ago to Sharif Cooper out of Auburn, we drafted him.
He's a second rounder. I don't think he was.
Well, here's the thing: he had a really good summer league, and he was averaging 27 points a game in the G League. But then the Hawks were almost forced to get rid of him because he had a lot of locker room issues and a lot of disciplinary issues. So the Hawks traded him from the G League because they didn't want to deal with that anymore. But I'm a sole believer that Sharif Cooper had some respect to his coaches and his players, and he didn't have all these disciplinary issues. I think he could have been a solid bench piece for the Atlanta Hawks in the future. That's just my prediction. There's no way we can tell. But I feel like that's kind of similar to Kobe Buffkin. Not in the same way, but almost, just in terms of the potential he was showing, what could have been. But like you said, Andrew, I think the direction the Hawks are going and the expectation on the season, maybe you're right. Maybe there's just no solidified room for him. And we kind of mentioned this to our buddy of ours, and he kind of gave his input, kind of saying that he thinks this is a sign that we just trust Keaton Wallace more than we do Kobe Buffkin. And based on what Keaton Wallace showcased last year in his respective summer leagues, I think that's a fair statement. But Jordan, I want to shoot it to you now. I want to ask you, who do you think the Atlanta Hawks, like we said, have an open roster spot now that gives us roster flexibility. So in your prediction, Jordan, in your mind, who do you think the Atlanta Hawks could open this or fill the spot with?
So there are actually three names, and one of them is not a guard because this dude has not signed with the Warriors yet. I still don't know why, but Al Horford is still out there.
Al Horford is out there.
We could still bring him back. So that's a name we could sign. Another name is a fellow Australian in Ben Simmons. Not sure how y'all feel about that. I personally don't like it.
No.
But
I want a player who cares about playing basketball.
Yeah, right. Yes, Ray. Yes, and he can't stay healthy. But this guy who is on my leaderboard is a former MVP for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Played for the Wizards with Kristaps, Russell Westbrook.
Oh,
could you imagine?
Ooh,
what if we bring in Westbrook? What if we bring in Russell Westbrook?
Oh,
if we,
sign for a vet minimum or something like that. Although,
I don't know.
Although I will say that like I have seen some reports a few months ago saying that if Sacramento Kings didn't sign, Russell Westbrook was going to retire or something because he didn't want to leave the state of California. I don't know what that's about.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, he has been in California for the last. He was in Denver not too long ago.
Right. Yeah. He was in Denver. He was in LA. He was in
Yeah, both sides of LA, the Clippers and the Lakers.
Right, yeah, right. Yeah, he was in. Right, yeah, he was with the Clippers. But I
Wow.
mean, like he has experience playing with Kristaps in Washington.
He does.
So
And a
there's
Washington version of Russell Westbrook is one of the most underrated versions of Westbrook I've ever seen. I know the Wizards weren't too good that year. They lost to they were the 8th seed heading to playoffs, lost to the Sixers in 5 games that year. But Russell Westbrook was a huge bright side to that team. And he averaged, what, 26 a game? He had a lot of triple doubles that year as well. And he was a really good version of Russell Westbrook. He just didn't have really any weapons around him besides Kristaps Porzingis.
And I also was a big fan of Westbrook's production when he played in Denver recently.
yeah.
And I kind of, if I'm taking Russell Westbrook for face value and how he would be used in the Hawks lineup, because obviously we know this Hawks lineup is built around Trae Young and it's going to stay like that until he leaves, because he is a primary ball handler, he's a primary playmaker, and I think the key reason for that DeJounte Murray trade was to give Trae Young more control over the offense, because we think that's where he suits best. So I think introducing Westbrook, I don't think it would be like the DeJounte Murray, because he wouldn't be in the starting lineup. He'd be coming off the bench. So it's not like we'd have to worry about another ball-dominant guard like Westbrook trying to take over Trae Young's authority, because he's going to be coming off the bench. So I don't think it would disrupt the offensive flow or create any redundancy between the team, because he is a high-usage guy. Even when he's coming off the bench, he thrives with the ball in his hands. But I do think that his past tenure in Denver, though I did like it for certain reasons, I think it did show that he's too clunky, in my opinion. I don't even know if clunky is a word, but what I mean by that is I think he causes a more insufficient backcourt rotation than he does a positive backcourt rotation, if that makes sense. I would just have the fear that he'd be too disruptive. That'd be my only standpoint on bringing in Westbrook, though it would be fun on paper.
I mean, also like he would put butts in seats. That's more butts in the seats of Stephon Marina. I mean, he's like when we have Porzingis, big name, and two Russell Westbrook. That's a former MVP, like I mentioned earlier.
Yep.
That's going to put even more butts in the seats of Stephon Marina. But Chase, you said you had an idea. I want to hear your thoughts. No, you didn't really seem to. You didn't really like say anything when I mentioned Westbrook. So I assume you were thinking of someone different.
It was actually someone within the Hawks organization. It was actually someone who also showcased a really good summer league. And I think I even kind of hinted that I think this could be a guy that could potentially make the Hawks roster, if not opening of the season, maybe later on in the season. And that's a brother of a player that's already on the team.
Oh.
Jalen Johnson's brother, Kobe Johnson, out of UCLA. If you remember him last year, he had a huge March Madness run for the Bruins last year, and he had a really good summer league performance. He had some pretty good size, 6'6", really lanky, and I just thought maybe now, I mean, he plays shooting guard, so I thought maybe this could be a extra guard with some good length and size that the Hawks could add to the roster. With Kobe Buffkin being gone. So that's just who I was maybe presuming. So I was going to say Kobe Johnson, the brother of Jalen Johnson.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so I blew on the water with that information. But yeah, man.
Bring some family ties to the court. I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah. Might as well see. Kind of do like what the awesome. Bucks did with Giannis's brother for a little bit.
Yep.
So, yeah. But do y'all have any closing remarks before we end this episode?
We should shout out the Dream. They just beat the
Hey, you're right.
First of all, congratulations for making the playoffs. Second of all, well, I shouldn't really. I mean, the Fever don't have Caitlin Clark because she's out for the year. So, but the Dream did. But the Dream did win their win game one of their playoff series against the Fever. So
they did.
Yeah.
Shout out to something we should have mentioned weeks ago, but first-year head coach Carl Semenko winning the WNBA Coach of the Year award too, bringing the Dream the most wins they've ever had in a season.
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that. No. So
he won Coach of the Year too. So this is a big season for the Atlanta Dream.
Maybe a Dream championship.
Could we have a season where the Dream and the Hawks win a championship in the same year?
Kind of like when the UConn Huskies men's and women's team both won the championship in their collective years. Could be a city built on championships for Atlanta this upcoming fall /
There's
summer.
something in the water.
Just saying.
Something in the water. But other than that, any other closing remarks?
I'm good.
Don't think so.
All right. Well,
we covered a lot in this episode. Very good episode.
Glad we actually had some legitimate news concerning the Atlanta Hawks again too. Before the news happened, I was low key thinking of another Sporkle quiz we could do, and then Joyner putting on the group chat. I'm like, thank the Lord we actually have some Atlanta Hawks news. Though it might not be great news, it was news, and that just means that things are flowing as we get closer and closer to the season. So with that being said,
it's not really great news depending on who we sign, honestly.
Yeah. Depending on what we do next, we'll show if this was actually.
If it's Ben Simmons, I want Auntie's. I want Auntie's. I'm just kidding. I don't. I'm not gonna say what I'm gonna say. I want him. I want him out.
I would eat a Tide Pod on camera if we get Ben Simmons.
Wait. Dog poop?
Check on it. Dog, hey, you have to eat dog poop if we get Ben Simmons on the stream.
Maybe not dog poop, but we can compromise. We can compromise something.
What about like a dog treat? Like a dog treat?
Yeah, there we go. I'll do a dog treat on camera if we and the next episode following the Ben Simmons signing, if it does happen, I will eat a dog treat.
If we get Ben Simmons, that would make for quite the episode. But let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's hope that's not an episode we have to make.
Right,
I mean, to be fair, it would be interesting because we have Dyson and Ben Simmons, but it's also Ben Simmons. So
yeah, so no telling what kind of.
It would be cool to have two Aussies, but it's also Ben Simmons. You can't say and he's a cancer. He's not a good personality.
You just have no idea what kind of production you're getting out of them, and usually it's pretty lackluster production. So yeah, rather not go in that direction. But with that being said, thank y'all so much for tuning into episode number 45. From myself, Adrian Joyner, we will see you next time.